and that's told from the player's own voice, so that's different per class. So that'll kind of give your player's take on what's going on. So that'll be different for every class, and that takes into account the players' backgrounds and what their backstory is.
Thank you.
So my first question, actually this is only one question, but when do I get my beta key? And
what's your address?
What's that?
What's your address?
Okay, yeah, just email it to me. I'll come meet you afterwards, don't worry. Right. This is a PvP question. So what it looks like now is that you're trying to separate arena from the regular PvE aspects, comparatively to previous versions where it's just you just jump in a game to go kill people, you trick them into maybe, hey, turn on the combat key and let's go fight. How's that going to balance with arena and PvE? Are you guys thinking about doing like separate skill trees, or, I mean, how are we going to work that into it?
Is this how are we going to balance PvP versus PvE?
Well, I mean, in previous versions, if there's only like a couple classes really worth PvE or PvPing with. So in this one, it'd be maybe a little bit more beneficial if there's some more tweaks to PvP later on down the road, when it seems like that wasn't addressed in previous games.
Okay. If I understand the question correctly, it's how are we going to make the other classes viable in PvP? Make sure that they're all viable?
That's the idea, but I mean, realistically, I mean, the other classes just kind of fell by the wayside, and no one really addressed it, and PvP was just kind of pushed off to the side. Okay, and this one, it seems like it's going to have more of a, a role in the game, at least in arena.
Yeah, well, we definitely, I mean, as I mentioned, we've separated PvE and PvP. There is not going to be any PvP in the PvE game, and that's intentional because pretty much all that was really, it was used for, other than the occasional, when the game first came out, there was some good experiences that came out of it. But after that, it was pretty much used for dueling, which we now put into the arenas, or griefing. I really like griefing. That's a little secret. But, and I griefed me plenty of people in Diablo in my time, and I apologize. Not really. But ultimately, our decision was, we really wanted co-op play, and we felt like any chance for griefing from a PvP standpoint hurt people's desire to want to play co-op together, and we just couldn't abide that. So we've separated them. And how we'll make the classes all viable, well, part of it is separating them also means we can tune and balance the game, PvP game separately than the PvE game, which makes it a lot easier to make sure that every class has something to do in PvP and that every class is useful and viable.
Thank you.
Hey guys, I think the game looks amazing. I think it's really awesome, but I'm just wondering, other than console part, where do you guys get your color palettes when you do your backgrounds and characters?
Pat, you want to tackle that?
Well, I think we really look at the colors that are going to make the most, the ones that are going to get the best bang for the buck in the environment. Whatever the mood is, we're trying to sell. I mean, different colors have different connotations in different societies. So we just really look for the ones that really sell what we're trying to do in that particular environment.
There's also an aspect of where we're trying to make things different enough so that as you're playing the game, things are changing up. You're not always stuck sort of in the same environment. So there's a lot of care taken to sort of ensure that that's happening as well. So you guys are only playing like little slices here, which are awesome. But once you see the whole game, you'll see that what we're doing is we're sort of changing things up and making sure that it's never quite the same thing.
I think that I've learned on this project that there's story in everything, even the tiniest bit of art, the smallest decision. If you progress from a red hued environment in the demo to the blue outdoors, there's a little something that you take away from that, and definitely palettes inform that.
Thank you.
Hi, I was just wondering how you guys are gonna handle resistance compared to D2.
Well, the first thing we did was we changed resistance from a flat percentage to basically a rating. It works a little bit more like defense did, and that it scales with the level of the monsters, so it can grow a lot more. We don't have to basically go to Nightmare and pull resistance down. It's a fairly broad question, though. Like in a lot of ways, we're handling it the same. Resistance is still a big part of the game. It's still it's a big focus of your defensive building of your character in higher levels. But sometimes when people ask that question, they're asking about like, are we doing like double and triple immunity type monsters and things like that? And we really are. Right now, our plan is to avoid that and instead go for high resistance monsters because we don't want to completely negate somebody's ability to hurt an enemy. We also diversify damage types a lot more across the classes, but we still can't count on a class having a diversity of different damage types that they use.
Jay, I bet they want to know if they're going to have to stack fire resistance.
We're going to have to stack fire resistance?
Or any resistance going into any particular fight.
It's really hard to say at this point. I mean, there's some value to stacking resistances, to acquiring different kinds, but it's really going to be based more off, again, it's kind of an in-game question because resistances are really more of an in-game stat. So until we start building the in-game, it's hard for us to say exactly how we'll use it. Right now, we're kind of planning on using it the same, but we're going to look at it a lot closer when we get to the point of building it and hopefully address any issues that Diablo 2 had.
Thank you.
Hey guys, I'm wondering how Diablo 3's PvP arena, if it will support multi-platforms.
Support multi-platforms.
As in, for example, rather than having the ground all even, you can have like different levels?
Maybe. We certainly can, I mean, we can do it. That's not a problem. We specifically chose not to do it because the game does not play always great when you do a lot of height variation. And Diablo is essentially in a lot of ways, it's a two-dimensional game. Like, even though we have a 3D engine and you can move up and down platforms and things like that, if you shoot something that is higher or lower than you, essentially, on our side, we have to guess what your intent is. And our guess is never perfect. So with our first arenas that we made, we found that it was just a lot more fun to have more of a level surface and not have to worry about that. That being said, we'll make more arenas and we'll continue to play around with that.
Thank you.
Come forward a little bit more. There you go.
Hi, I'm Mathieu from Big Crits. I have a question much about, the destiny of certain characters. Like in Diablo 2, you go back to Tristram and it's completely sacked. And, I grew up playing Diablo 1 with my dad, so I got really sentimental and attached to Tristram. And as I played throughout Diablo 2, you got implied destinies of the rogue and the sorcerer and what happened to them. Would it be... is there going to be something like that concerning the other Diablo 2 classes in Diablo 3 where there's implied destinies about what happened to them? And will we learn about, Luke Ghislaine or how Karast has healed from what happened to them, or the Sisterhood of the Sightless Eye? Will we hear about what's going on with them and now that they got their cathedral back?
So for me, I remember that when I played Diablo 2 and I found out kind of the implied destinies like you're talking about, with the classes from Diablo 1. I thought that was one of the coolest things, and we're definitely planning to continue that. Specifically, like, the Sisterhood of Sightless Eye, or what happened to the Necromancer. You might see some things, but we definitely keep in mind what's gone before and draw on that and try to, show you how things have turned out.
Thank you.
Hi. So I had a lot of fun playing ladder in Diablo 2, but it got kind of weird when you had some form communities come up with their own currency, and then when ladders reset, they wouldn't actually reset, the forms that weren't part of the game. So it became kind of hard to play competitively on the ladder if you weren't part of these forms and had currency and stuff. It became really hard just to play with only the game open. You had to like alt-tab out and stuff.
And what's the question?
Well, sorry. Are you going to address that? I mean, I know it's hard for you guys to try and deal with third parties problems, but is there a way? It kind of goes to your economy, how you want to have one solid currency, and how you can maybe address these kind of third party problems.
Well, I mean, we're always trying to address any kind of third party group that basically does something that we feel hurts the overall gameplay of the game. we try to do what we can to correct it. So for us, the answer is really most likely going to lie on how we handle the trading issues. And so since we haven't decided exactly how we're going to do that, it's hard to kind of comment specifically on that. But it's definitely an issue that we're aware of and that we want to address.
Thank you.
The guy is really tall. Sorry. The question I had, and I think it's probably the most important question and the question that all Diablo fans wants to know, since my previous question was already answered, will there be a cow level?
So I'll take this one. In Diablo 2, there's a feature called the chat gem, and it will actually answer your question if you pay attention.
Thanks.
How you doing? Real quick, I love you, Destiny. For you guys, I think that the changes you have made over the last couple of years here playing the beta is absolutely amazing. My actual question pertains to the new Demon Hunter and the choice of double crossbows. What gives? Like, I can understand one of them, maybe one with a multi-shot, but what about like a sidearm or something? Like 2 single crossbows just kind of seems a little uncreative.
I think it seems kind of awesome.
You might want to make a run for it.
You don't have to use those. You can use all kinds of stuff. She's got crossbows and bows. But we love them. We think that they're great. We think that it brings an awesome... thank you. We think it brings like an added dimension. You haven't seen like John Woo kind of action in a Diablo hero before, and yeah, we don't want to drive you into a particular game style, but you know, for her own unique class of weapons. Please, someone jump in if I'm wrong, but I think that this really speaks to who she is. She's techie, and she's trained. She's practiced in things that other people in the world haven't seen before. Maybe there's another one-handed crossbow out there, you know, but I think the Demon Hunters maybe have that tech locked up somehow.
Yeah. Thank you.
So my question would be, since y'all are emphasizing PvP abilities and PvE abilities being completely different, is there any way we're going to get dual specs so that if we want to focus more on PvP, we're not going to be screwed for PvP as well?
Well, the point there is we don't want to screw you for PvE. Our focus is on PvE. We don't want to get distracted. We love PvP. We love what we've done with it. But we don't want it to become such a distraction that we counterbalance what we're doing in PvE. So that's always going to come first for us.
Thank you.
Just wanted to ask more about the artisans. I know that you can level them up, but I was wondering, you gave them all this gold to get them cool crap to make the caravan look better. Are they going to be giving you any sort of like reduction in prices of lower level stuff out of appreciation? Because otherwise, without you, they'd still be dead, and the Black Spice wife would be dead, and the town would be destroyed. So, I mean, I would like a little appreciation here.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll give you a discount. Just you, though. Nobody else. I mean, it's really, you know, it's a logic issue versus a gameplay issue. So, logically, they would give it all to you for free, and everyone would give you things for free, and you would swim in donuts and happiness forever. But the truth is, we want an economy. And so, because we want an economy, it's logical that you would pay someone for their services. And so, you pay them, we get gold out of the economy, you guys get a currency to trade with, and everybody wins. Except for that donut thing. Nobody gets that. There's no donuts in Diablo. No, I just threw it down. Blizzcon exclusive, no donuts.